County Jail, 2:30 p.m. Regina sat cuffed in her running gear, shoulders straight. "Don't move," Officer Keene ordered, fisting a handful of her curls and yanking hard. Tight coils pulled her scalp. "This isn't protocol," she said evenly. "Shut it." Electric clippers roared to life. Keene dragged them over her head. Dark spirals of hair rained onto cold concrete. Each lock a public humiliation. "Look at that nappy mess," Officer Morales snickered, holding up his phone to record. Regina's eyes welled but didn't break. "You're making a serious mistake." "Only mistake was you mouthing off," Keene replied, carving another path through her hair. Regina stared straight into his body cam. Her voice stayed calm. "Tomorrow morning, at 9 o'clock, you'll understand consequences. Timestamp, 2:30 p.m. In 18 hours, everything would flip." Comment: If you've ever been disrespected by authority, this ends in justice. 24 hours earlier, Judge Regina Lawson stood in her chambers, smoothing the sleeves of her black robe. At 56, she moved with a quiet authority that came from outlasting decades of courtroom battles. Her paneled office displayed a Harvard Law diploma, a Supreme Court clerkship certificate, and framed photos with senators who valued her rigorous mind. Case files covered her polished desk like a paper battlefield. Two thick folders labeled State v. Morales and State v. Keene sat open in front of her, each packed with disturbing reports. Officer Morales, 17 civilian complaints over 6 years. Officer Keene, 14. Every single one stamped dismissed without real inquiry. She studied their photos clipped to witness statements. Morales, smug in uniform, smirked like he owned the streets. Keene's flat stare radiated cold enjoyment of power unchecked. Tomorrow morning, both officers would stand before her bench for sentencing on excessive force convictions. Her law clerk, Lucas, stepped in, carrying steaming coffee and a fresh stack of motions. "Judge, the police union filed another request to move the trial," he said. "They're claiming you might be biased against officers." Regina looked up slowly, expression sharpened like a blade. "Biased how, exactly? Because I believe the badge doesn't place anyone above the law?" Lucas shifted, suddenly fascinated by his shoes. "They don't spell it out, ma'am. Just allege possible prejudice." Regina's phone buzzed with a text from her daughter, Jordan. "Mom, be careful downtown. Protests getting intense near the courthouse." "Love you," Regina typed back. "I'm okay. Justice has a way of settling accounts." Her fingers brushed the small audio recorder in her purse, Jordan's gift after anonymous threats about the upcoming hearing escalated from vague to disturbingly specific. Across town in the precinct locker room, Morales and Keene suited up with the easy arrogance of men convinced nothing could touch them. "You see who's on the bench tomorrow?" Morales asked, strapping on his vest. Keene spat into the sink, adjusting his belt. "Judge Lawson, another soft-on-crime liberal," Morales chuckled while checking his sidearm. "These activist judges don't understand street reality. They rule from cushioned chairs, never having to tussle in alleys. Now let's see how noble she acts if she ever lands on our side of the cuffs," Keene said with a cruel smirk. Neither had any idea Regina Lawson planned a lunchtime jog downtown. They didn't know her route always looped past the courthouse plaza where protesters had gathered all week. Most of all, they couldn't imagine the middle-aged black woman in sweats could be the one holding their careers in her hands. The courthouse clock chimed noon as Regina finished reviewing the last brief. She changed into running tights, an old MIT hoodie, and worn-in sneakers. To a casual observer, she looked like any older woman squeezing in a workout between meetings. Outside, demonstrators flooded Civic Plaza with hand-painted signs. Accountability now. No one above the law. Satellite trucks from news outlets lined the street, waiting for something explosive. Officers in riot gear watched from every corner, faces hidden behind shields and dark visors. Regina stretched on the courthouse steps, glancing at her fitness tracker. She didn't know that, at that same moment, Morales and Keene were receiving new orders over their radios. All units, crowd control escalation downtown, aggressive intervention tactics approved. As she jogged toward the plaza, neither recognized the other. The judge about to decide their fate was about to become their prey. Regina's audio recorder rested quietly in her purse, ready to capture evidence. No one expected 1:30 p.m. She finished her warm-up loop and picked up pace toward downtown. Afternoon sun slanted across stone steps and glass towers as she found her rhythm. The MIT hoodie felt familiar, almost comforting armor. The protests were bigger than she anticipated. Hundreds packed the plaza, chants ricocheting between high-rises like drum beats. No justice, no peace echoed over and over, a human metronome of rage and hope. Regina slowed, realizing her usual path cut straight through the thickest part of the crowd. She pulled out her phone to map an alternate route. Before she could reroute, a tear gas canister detonated 20 feet away, spewing white smoke. Her eyes burned instantly. She coughed, stumbling, phone clattering across the pavement. "Disperse now or face arrest!" A voice boomed through a megaphone. "Morales." Regina blinked away tears, reaching for her fallen phone as the crowd surged. Bodies shoving, screams overlapping. People stampeded from the advancing police line. She aimed toward where she'd parked her BMW, but the chaos shredded her sense of direction. "Hey! You! Stop right there!" She turned to see Officer Keene charging toward her, the baton hand twitching, Morales close behind. "Officer, I'm just trying to get to my car," Regina managed, still coughing. "Hands where I can see them." "You were throwing objects at police," Keene barked. Regina slowly raised her hands. Confusion etched in every line of her face. "I haven't thrown anything. I was jogging and got caught in the—" "Turn around, now!" Keene snapped, grabbing her arm and spinning her toward a patrol car. Her BMW sat maybe 50 yards away, useless and distant. "Officers, there's been a misunderstanding," she said, keeping her tone measured. Morales moved in, close, body cam blinking. Her workout clothes, tear-streaked face, and gas-reddened eyes fit perfectly into their prefab story of a troublemaker. "What's a lady like you doing stirring things up down here?" Morales sneered. "I'm allowed to be here. I was exercising," she replied, jaw tightening. Keene pulled out his handcuffs with bored efficiency. "We've got a feisty one. Makes this fun." Regina didn't resist as cold metal closed around her wrists behind her back. Her purse hit the ground, contents spilling everywhere. The small recorder tumbled near a storm drain, still running as sirens wailed and boots pounded. "You're under arrest for disorderly conduct, resisting, and assaulting an officer," Morales announced loudly for the camera. "Assault?" Regina said sharply. "I never laid a hand on you." "You threw a rock. I watched it," Keene lied smoothly. Regina's expression shifted from confusion to something harder, older. 30-plus years in the justice system, and she was experiencing the rot up close. Officers, I strongly suggest you verify your facts before proceeding. Keene laughed, steering her towards the cruiser. Hear that? She's giving us legal advice. You an attorney? Sweetheart? Regina kept her mouth shut. Her silence unsettled them in ways shouting never could. What's wrong? Nothing clever to say now? Morales jeered. They shoved Regina into the back seat. On the curb, her recorder kept capturing every word from the gutter. Morales's boot missed it by inches as he pivoted back toward the crowd, barking fresh orders. The trap had been sprung. Justice, that patient old beast, was about to learn what it felt like to be caged by injustice. 2:15 p.m. The Sallyport doors at County Jail slammed shut with a heavy echo of finality. Regina sat cuffed in the back of the cruiser while Morales and Keene high-fived through the windshield, giddy with adrenaline. Easiest arrest all day, Keene bragged. Did you see her face when I said she nailed me with a rock? Classic, Morales said, still laughing. Thought she was somebody. Intake Officer Baker approached with a clipboard and the look of a man who'd processed too many protesters and not enough sleep. The afternoon shift during demonstrations was always chaos. What have we got? Baker asked. Disturbing the peace, resisting, assault on an officer, Morales rattled off. Real piece of work. Thinks she's above everyone. Regina stepped out of the car as gracefully as possible. Metal clinking, back straight. Detainees watched from crowded holding cells, mostly young activists, some still clutching contraband phones they'd managed to keep hidden. Yo, record this, one whispered to another. They're booking someone else. Regina moved through intake like she'd studied it in a textbook. Fingerprints, photos, forms. She met every camera lens, head on, unflinching. The calm rattled Baker. He was used to angry outbursts or tearful pleas, not a woman who seemed to be taking mental notes. Skip medical on this one, Keene told Baker. Princess here thinks she's special. I'm entitled to a medical evaluation and a phone call, Regina said evenly. Morales stepped in close, breathy, halt with contempt. You're entitled to keeping that mouth shut. Baker shifted uneasily behind his desk. Something about her posture, her vocabulary, tugged at recognition he couldn't quite place. Ma'am, we need to conduct a contraband search, he said. Standard procedure. I understand procedure, Officer Baker, Regina replied, cutting him off gently. Her tone made him pause. Before he could continue, Keene dug electric clippers from a supply cabinet. Yeah. Protocol includes a thorough hair check, he announced. You could hide anything in that nest. Regina knew he was lying. She'd helped draft county detention policies on a judicial review board. Hair searches were limited to violent felonies, not misdemeanors involving protests. That isn't standard for these charges, she said firmly. It is now, Morales shot back without blinking. Policy change last week. Anti-terror expansion. Keene stepped closer, clippers humming with ugly promise. So, we can do this easy or do this hard, darling. Regina scanned the room. 3 activists with phones pressed to bars. Security cameras in every corner. Baker's nervous eyes in a heartbeat. She made a choice that would change everything. Proceed. Officer Keene. Keene seized her hair, fingers digging into coils, yanking her head back. The clippers buzzed alive, devouring decades of careful growth. Detainees gasped, phones rising higher to catch the assault. "This is screwed up. Y'all seeing this?" one activist shouted. "Show's over. Phones down, or you're catching extra charges," Morales barked. Tight curls dropped in thick clumps around Regina's feet, each coil a piece of identity stripped by state power. "Look at all this smuggling space," Keene taunted, dragging the clippers in rough, uneven stripes. Morales raised his personal phone, recording gleefully. "Smile for the camera, Your Honor. Oh, I mean, inmate." The slip sliced the air. Conversations died mid-sentence. Phone stilled. Baker's clipboard slipped from his hands and hit the desk with a crack. Even Keene hesitated, clippers buzzing inches from her scalp. "What did you just call her?" Baker whispered, throat suddenly dry. Regina met Morales's gaze, head half-shaved, dignity untouched. "Careful, Officer Morales. Your words carry weight." Keene, slow to notice the shift, resumed cutting. "What kind of stash you hiding in here, sweetheart?" Regina's scalp showed through jagged stubble, yet her composure stayed unbroken. She raised her voice, making sure every phone mycie caught it. "Actually, Officer Keene, you don't decide when this stops." Something in her tone finally pierced his bravado. Keene froze, clippers hovering near her skin. The room fell eerily quiet, except for fluorescent lights humming above. Regina turned directly toward a ceiling camera, speaking like she was addressing a courtroom. "Every action in this building is recorded, every word archived. Every abuse of power leaves a trail." Morales's face drained of color. "What's that supposed to mean?" Her answer would haunt them. "It means that when the sun rises tomorrow, truth has a way of surfacing. And justice, gentlemen, is patient, but never blind." 2:37 p.m. Baker's radio crackled. "All units be advised, APB on missing person. Judge Regina Lawson failed to return from lunch. Last seen jogging near Civic Plaza." Baker's clipboard fell again, this time to the floor. He stared at the woman in the orange jumpsuit, newly shorn. "Oh, no! Oh, hell no!" he breathed. Morales frowned. "What's wrong with you?" Baker pointed at Regina, then at the paperwork, then back again. Finger trembling, his voice cracked. "Do you idiots have any idea who that is?" Keene still held the clippers, surrounded by her hair like debris after a storm. "She's some protester. So what?" Baker's voice jumped an octave. "Keene, you just shaved the head of the Honorable Judge Regina Lawson." Silence hit like a shock wave. Even the buzzing lights seemed to dim. Regina stood perfectly still, head half-shaved, posture regal despite the orange fabric. Morales's voice came out thin, high. "No way. She was at the protest. She was throwing things." Regina's answer was measured and surgical. "Officer Morales, tomorrow at 9 a.m., you and Officer Keene are scheduled in my courtroom for sentencing on excessive force convictions." The clippers slipped from Keene's numb fingers and clattered beside the piles of hair. "But you were jogging." "In regular clothes," he stammered. "Yes," Regina said. "I was exercising my constitutional right to peaceful movement in public space." In the cells, realization spread like wildfire. "Yo, they arrested a judge!" an activist shouted, already live streaming. "And shaved her head," another yelled. "This is blowing up right now." Screens glowed as comments flooded in. Regina stepped towards the main camera, turning to give a full profile of her butchered haircut. She spoke clearly. "For the record, I am Judge Regina Lawson, Superior Court of King County. Badge numbers 4187 and 3294 have violated my civil rights, fabricated charges, and subjected me to degrading treatment. Baker fumbled for some kind of damage control. Your Honor, ma'am, this is obviously a misunderstanding. We can straighten this out immediately. Regina's interruption was ice cold. Officer Baker, the error occurred when these men decided that my appearance gave them permission to abuse their authority. Morales grabbed his radio with shaking hands. Dispatch, we need command staff at County Jail. Code red. State nature of emergency, dispatch responded. Morales hesitated. We've arrested Judge Halston. Static filled the channel as everyone processed those 3 words. Keene scrambled for a foothold. Your Honor, we didn't realize. You didn't realize, Regina cut in, because you saw a black woman in running clothes and assumed I fit your narrative. That assumption exposes everything about how you police this community. From the evidence locker down the hall, her phone began ringing, muffled through concrete. Jordan's recorded worry seeped through. Mom, the news says you're missing. Please call me. The activist with the live stream glanced at his notifications. Y'all, this video's already at 50,000 views, he said, voice shaking. Share it everywhere. Regina walked calmly to the bars and addressed the detainees. Tomorrow, we'll seek justice not just for me, but for everyone these officers have humiliated or harmed. Baker's radio exploded with overlapping calls. All media units respond to County Jail. Channel 7 en route. Mayor's office demanding immediate update. The story was detonating in real time. By dawn, the whole country would see what happened in that intake room. 3 p.m. Release paperwork materialized with miraculous speed as Police Chief Harris arrived with Mayor Elaine Porter and Union Representative Grant Nichols in tow. Regina waited in Baker's cramped office, jail-issued beanie covering her scalp. Your Honor, on behalf of the department, Harris began, already sweating. Chief Harris, Regina said, slicing through his sentence. Save any apologies for the record tomorrow? Mayor Porter leaned forward, desperation in her eyes. Judge Halston, surely we can resolve this internally through established disciplinary channels. Madam Mayor, with respect, Regina said, voice like glass, this stopped being internal when the footage hit hundreds of thousands of screens. Online showed the reaction ignited like dry brush in a summer wind. The hashtag Judge Halston trended #1 nationwide within hours. Civil rights accounts posted, "This is systemic racism on display. A sitting judge treated like a common criminal." Legal watchdog groups shared, "Officers Morales and Keene have over 30 combined complaints. Why are they still in uniform?" Activists wrote, "They filmed their own misconduct. The audacity is jaw-dropping." Instagram filled with clips of Regina's shaved head and unshaken posture. On local news, one anchor deadpanned, "Breaking Superior Court Judge Regina Halston was arrested and allegedly assaulted by Seattle police amid today's protests." Another outlet pushed a different angle. Questions arise whether Judge Halston engaged in unlawful protest activity that warranted police response. National networks ran disturbing footage of jail staff shaving a sitting judge's hair. Outside Union headquarters, Nichols faced an aggressive press pack. "Mr. Nichols, is shaving a misdemeanor detainee's head standard booking practice?" a reporter demanded. Nichols clung to a prepared statement. "Officers Morales and Keene followed established intake guidelines. Any accusations of misconduct are premature." "So you're saying hair removal is standard?" another journalist pressed. "Can you show us the written policy?" Nichols' confidence faltered. No comment on active investigations, he muttered, retreating. Meanwhile, at 4 a.m., Regina sat on her living room couch beside Jordan, both exhausted but wired. Jordan, a civil rights attorney, wrapped her arms around her mother as the headscarf slipped, revealing the harsh haircut. "Mom, they destroyed your hair," Jordan whispered, tears tracking down her cheeks. Regina's voice was smooth steel. "Hair grows back, baby. Dignity doesn't vanish that easily. They gave me something more valuable than curls." "What's that?" Jordan asked. "Evidence, witnesses, and the moral standing to demand real reforms," Regina said. Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. CNN, national papers, ACLU, NAACP, everyone wanted a quote. "Jordan, start drafting a federal civil rights complaint. I want every second of body cam footage, every slur, every violation. Document it all." Jordan hesitated. "Mom, media scrutiny will be relentless. They'll dig into everything about you." "They chose publicity when they live-streamed my humiliation," Regina replied. "Now, we determine the story." Across town, Morales and Keene sat in internal affairs with union lawyer Mark Feldman, the air thick as a sealed courtroom. "Gentlemen, you're suspended pending federal review," IA Detective Alvarez said bluntly. Feldman interjected. My clients acted within policy." Alvarez cut him off. Anger barely contained. "Your clients arrested a sitting judge and documented themselves degrading her." "It wasn't abuse," Keene snapped. "It was standard contraband protocol. How were we supposed to know she was a judge?" Morales added, voice edging toward panic. Alvarez played Regina's recorded warnings. "Maybe because she repeatedly told you to verify your facts." Security footage rolled. Regina, calm, articulate, issuing precise cautions. Their mocking responses played right after. Her poise clashed violently with their childish taunts. Feldman groped for an angle. The lighting was poor. She was dressed casually. Any reasonable officer could have misidentified her. Alvarez didn't blink. "A reasonable officer would have checked ID before stacking charges." Investigators had recovered Regina's recorder from the protest site. Audio crystal clear. Regina's voice rang out, "Officers, I strongly advise you verify your facts before proceeding." Morales' dismissive drawl followed. "Oh, she's advising us now. You a lawyer, honey?" Alvarez leaned in. "Your clients ignored multiple warnings from a veteran judge trying to save them from themselves." Morning shows worldwide picked up the story. One host announced, "Judge Regina Lawson will address her arrest and alleged assault at a press conference today." Another reported, "The hashtag It's Justice for Judge Lawson has been shared millions of times overnight." Commentators speculated this case could become a landmark in police accountability. In chambers, Regina prepared for the conference, sitting with Jordan and scrolling through analytics. The numbers were staggering: millions of views, hundreds of thousands of shares, trending in dozens of countries. "Mom," Jordan said softly, "the world is watching." Regina touched her head wrap, lips tightening. "Good. It's time people see what accountability actually looks like instead of just hearing the word." Day 2. Regina's chambers looked less like an office and more like a command center. Bouquets from strangers and colleagues crowded every surface. FBI Special Agent Olivia Price spread documents across the mahogany desk, while analyst Kevin Liu clicked through digital files. Jordan stacked legal briefs, highlighters bristling from her hand. Regina, in an elegant African head wrap, radiated unshaken authority despite everything. Judge, this isn't an isolated flare-up, Agent Price began. We've tracked Morales and Keene for 8 months. Liu projected a city map onto the wall. Red dots marked arrest locations like a spreading rash. Patterns clear, he said. 70+% of their force complaints involve people of color. They concentrate stops in minority neighborhoods, even though their patrol sector covers diverse areas. Regina studied the map like a trial exhibit. Show me the money trail, she said. Liu opened spreadsheets thick with numbers. Overtime fraud, large scale, he explained. Last month, Morales claimed 89 overtime hours tied to protest duty. Keene logged 76. But the protests that day lasted 6 hours, tops. Jordan looked up from her notes. So my mom's arrest was a revenue opportunity. Exactly, Liu said. Another padded incident. Morales cleared $3,200 overtime the week after your detention. Price held up printed emails time-stamped 2:30 a.m., the night of Regina's arrest. The cover-up started minutes after you were booked, she said, reading aloud. Email from Chief Harris to Nichols. Contain this immediately. Lawson incident is a PR disaster. Control public narrative at any cost. Another reply from Nichols appeared. Working contacts already. Can we claim she was intoxicated? Harris responded, negative. Body cam shows full coherence. Push illegal protest participation instead. Regina's jaw tightened as she read her own dehumanization strategized in corporate language. Liu opened a thick folder labeled Morales, Keene Complaints, 2019-2024. Here are the people left in their wake, he said. Their faces appeared one by one on the monitor. Jamal Rivers, 19, college student, arrested for suspicious behavior while waiting at a bus stop. Hair forcibly shaved during booking. All charges later dropped. Internal complaints buried. Elena Cruz, 35, registered nurse, stopped for a broken taillight. Arrested when she questioned the search. Strip searched within view of others. City paid a $50,000 sealed settlement. Then Marcus Hale, 45, high school teacher, arrested while volunteering at a shelter. Beaten during supposed resistance. Ongoing civil suit. How many confirmed victims? Regina asked quietly. 43 documented. Real number likely over 200, Price answered. Jordan pulled up a growing social media thread. Mom, look at this, she said. A post from Jamal Speaks read, Judge Lawson, they shaved my head in 2019 just like they did to you. Called it a contraband search. I was terrified. Thank you for fighting back. Replies poured beneath it. Dozens sharing eerily similar stories. The photos of shaved scalps, bruised wrists, ruined dignity. Facebook posts echoed the pattern. Elena wrote, I stayed quiet out of fear. Seeing Judge Lawson stand strong gives me courage. Morales and Keene humiliated me too. On Instagram, an account captioned a side-by-side of Jamal and Regina, both with hacked haircuts. They finally did this to someone the system can't easily ignore. Liu laid out photocopies of union contracts, chunks highlighted in neon yellow. Here's how they stayed protected, he said. Clauses granting expansive immunity, automatic legal defense funds, forced arbitration for misconduct. Jordan scanned the pages and exhaled sharply. They built armor into the paperwork. Regina rose and paced behind her desk, judicial mind already moving 3 steps ahead. Then we peel back the armor, she said. I'm ordering a full review of every arrest those two touched over the last 5 years. If they fabricated my charges, they fabricated others, she continued. Liu's laptop chimed with new intel. Judge, Morales's full personnel file just finished uploading, he said. Internal Affairs flagged him 12 separate times. Not once disciplined. Jordan stared, incredulous. 12? Price nodded grimly. Excessive force, report falsification, racial targeting, sexual harassment. The department knew exactly who these men were, and they chose to shield them. Over and over again. Regina looked out of her window at the city she'd served her entire career, jaw set. The courthouse steps below were already filling with cameras, microphones, and people who'd been waiting years for someone in power to say, enough. Agent Price broke the silence first. Judge, the Attorney General's office just requested full access to everything we've compiled, she said. They're considering opening a pattern and practice investigation into the entire department. Regina nodded once, slow and deliberate. Good. But we don't wait on them. We move in parallel. Kevin, start flagging every case where Morales or Keene's testimony was the deciding factor. Kevin's fingers flew across the keyboard. Already on it, he murmured. A spreadsheet populated with rows of names, dates, charge codes. We're up to 84 cases where they were primary arresting officers, he said. Jordan leaned over his shoulder, eyes widening. How many ended in plea deals? Kevin clicked again. Most of them, people pled to avoid jail, not knowing the evidence was rotten. Regina sank back into her chair, the weight of it all pressing, but not crushing. We are not talking about a few bad calls, she said quietly. We're talking about a conveyor belt of cursed pleas, shaped by lies and violence. Jordan met her mother's gaze. Then we dismantle the conveyor belt, case by case, if we have to. Regina's answering smile was fierce. Outside, the courthouse plaza had transformed. Protest signs now included Regina's face wrapped in a headscarf, printed above slogans like, "We believe Judge Lawson," and "Protect the people, not the badge." News vans lined the curb in a metallic row. Reporters rehearsed live shots, glancing warily at the growing crowd. Inside, security scrambled to coordinate metal detectors, overflow rooms, and a press gaggle big enough for a national hearing. Judge, national organizations are asking if you'll support a broader coalition, Jordan said, scrolling through emails. Public defenders associations, trauma counselors, community groups. They want to stand with you at the press conference. Regina considered it. Yes, she said finally. But this isn't my story alone. When I speak, I'm speaking for every person. Those men steamrolled. Make sure survivors have space at the microphone too. Agent Price slid another file forward. We pulled phone records for Morales and Keene, she said. There are repeated after-hours calls with certain union officials, plus late-night texts with a private security contractor. Kevin tapped the screen. Same contractor that got city payments for crowd control consulting. Timelines match their overtime spikes. Regina's brows knit. So public money funded their fraud while they brutalized the public. Convenient arrangement. Jordan flipped open a legal pad filled with color-coded notes. Mom, we can pursue this 3 ways. Your personal civil rights suit, motions to vacate tainted convictions, and a formal judicial inquiry into union practices. Regina nodded. We start all 3. Today. Price smiled faintly. I've worked with a lot of judges, she said. Not many would go this hard. Regina shrugged. They shaved my head. They woke something up. Downstairs, courthouse staff whispered in clumps near the elevators. Some clutched coffee like shields. Others scrolled their phones for updates. A young clerk watched the viral video again, eyes wet. She still looked like a judge, he muttered. Even in that jumpsuit. An older bailiff replied, she is a judge. That's the point. If they can do that to her. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. In a cramped conference room across town, Chief Harris, Mayor Porter, and Nichols argued over a speakerphone. We need you to cool this down, the voice of a political consultant insisted. Offer a task force, listening sessions, whatever. Optics, not war. Harris rubbed his temples. Yeah, it's bigger than optics now, he said. IA just sent over the full complaint history. If any of this leaks, reform won't cut it. Nichols slammed his palm on the table. We can't let one overblown incident dismantle decades of union protections, he snapped. If we give an inch, every officer in the state wonders who's next. The consultant sighed. Every voter in the state is wondering that already, she said. Except they're not worried about officers. They're worried about themselves. Silence stretched, thick and uncomfortable, as the truth sank in. Back in chambers, Kevin projected a new chart. These are the settlement amounts tied to cases Morales and Keene touched, he said. Bars climbed across the screen, representing payouts to victims who never got apologies. Millions, Jordan whispered. City money, hush money, to keep their records clean. Regina's jaw clenched. They turned suffering into line items, she said, and called it risk management. No one had an argument for that. A knock at the door broke the tension. Lucas, the law clerk, poked his head in. Judge, the hallway's packed, he said. Media, advocates, former defendants. Security says the building's at capacity. Regina rose, smoothing her robe, then stopped and touched her head wrap instead. Let them in where fire code allows, she said. I won't hide from the people this courthouse is supposed to serve. Jordan's eyes shone with proud worry. As Regina adjusted her wrap in a small mirror, Jordan stood behind her, straightening the robe's collar. They'll remember this image, Jordan said softly. Not the mugshot, not the clippers, this. Regina met her daughter's reflection. Good, she replied, because this is who I've always been. They just finally made it impossible to ignore. Lucas cleared his throat gently. They're ready whenever you are, Judge. Regina turned back to the evidence-strewn desk one more time. Agent Price, Kevin, keep digging while I'm downstairs, she ordered. If anything surfaces that affects sentencing, I need it before 9 a.m. Price nodded. We'll treat this like an active crime scene, she said. Because it is. Jordan tucked the thick complaint draft into a folder stamped Federal Court. We're not just reacting, she said. We're building a roadmap. Regina picked up her gavel, weighing it in her hand before setting it down again. This little piece of wood never fixed anything by itself, she said. It only works when the system behind it is honest. She glanced at the towering stacks of files from Morales and Keene's cases. We're about to find out how much rot this building can stand before it has to rebuild from the foundation. Kevin's laptop chimed loudly, arresting everyone's attention. Judge, one more thing before you go, he said. Full personnel file on Chief Harris just came through a sealed channel. He scanned quickly, eyes widening. He overruled internal affairs recommendations on Morales and Keene at least 4 times, Kevin reported. Documented, Signed. Jordan exhaled slowly. So the system didn't just fail, she said. It chose them. Again and again. Anyway, Regina kept typing judicial orders on her laptop. This goes beyond two dirty officers, she said. This is a system built to shield them. Jordan's phone lit up with push alerts. Mom, check this Fox headline. Judge Lawson's protest activity raises bias questions. The piece painted her as an anti-police agitator unfit to rule on law enforcement cases. Kevin pulled up internal union correspondence coordinating media spin. One email from Nichols to a cable producer read, "Suggested angle. Judge attended unlawful protest. Officers followed protocol. She's exploiting position for payback." Jordan's temper flared. "They're rewriting reality, turning you into the villain." Regina's reply was steady metal. "Then we'll show the world what real villains look like on paper." Kevin switched to banking data that laid their scheme bare. "Morales and Keene aren't just violent," he said. "They're running protection rackets." Screens filled with deposits from shell businesses. Cash drops between $500 and $2,000. Drug crews, sex work rings, underground betting, Price added. They pay to stay off the radar. And those two enforce the arrangement. "Your arrest jeopardized their whole income stream," Price continued. "A sitting judge witnessing their tactics, their intimidation. They had to crush your credibility fast." Regina skimmed phone logs showing Morales and Keene furiously calling colleagues after her booking. "They weren't improvising," she concluded. "This is coordinated," Kevin nodded. "We're tracing contacts across multiple units. Your case blew open a very old door. Right now, we're mapping connections to officers in at least 6 precincts," Kevin said. "Text threads, shared overtime scams, identical arrest patterns." Regina stood at the window, watching demonstrators regroup outside. New signs read, "Justice for all 43 victims and Regina's courage, our freedom." "Agent Price, I want federal indictments," she said. "Not just for Morales and Keene, for every enabler." Price allowed herself a brief smile. "That's exactly what we hoped you'd demand, Judge." Regina's computer chimed with a priority message. Subject, Morales, Keene, new evidence. Sender, Officer Baker. The email read, "Your Honor. There's something I never disclosed about that night. Something that changes everything." Regina's pulse ticked faster. "Set up a meeting," she said. "Immediately, please." Day 4, 2 a.m. Regina jolted awake as her home alarm shrieked, motion sensors tripping all over the property. Through her bedroom window, she spotted a black pickup idling across the street. Headlights cutting the dark like hunting eyes. She snatched her phone, hands shaking, and dialed 911. "This is Judge Regina Lawson," she said. "Someone's outside my house, acting threatening." The dispatcher's reply chilled her. "Ma'am, are you sure it isn't a police protective unit?" Regina stared at the truck. "I requested no protection," she answered. The engine revved, tires squealing as it roared off, leaving scorched rubber and exhaust. When she checked her front walk, fresh spray paint screamed across her mailbox in red, "Dead Judge Walking." 2 a.m., across town at Jordan's apartment, her phone buzzed nonstop with blocked calls and disguised numbers. Voicemail 1. "Your mom should have kept her uppity mouth shut. Now the family pays." Voicemail 2. "We know where you work. Counselor on Pine. Would be a shame if something happened." Voicemail 3. "Judges are replaceable. Accidents happen literally every day." Jordan phoned Regina. Voice trembling. "Mom, are you getting death threats too?" "Honey, are you somewhere safe right now?" Regina asked, heart pounding. I'm scared, Mom. They know everything. Where I work, where I park, what hours I keep. At the precinct, Detective Alvarez spread threat reports before Price. Phone transcripts and call logs covered the conference table like evidence confetti. 67 threatening calls to you, 43 to Jordan. 2 death threats with specific schedule details, Alvarez summarized. Kevin examined linguistic analysis printouts. These callers speak fluent cop, he said. They know radio codes, duty rosters, internal slang. This isn't random cranks. Someone inside is orchestrating a harassment campaign. Alvarez pulled phone records from the last 72 hours, highlighting clusters like bruises. Morales and Keene are suspended, but they're still burning up the lines with active duty officers, Alvarez said, stabbing at the page. Look here, 47 calls between them and various patrol units since your arrest. 9 p.m. that same night. Lucas left the courthouse through the underground garage, clutching his briefcase. 3 men in plain clothes slipped from behind concrete pillars like shadows. Lucas, right? You clerk for Judge Lawson? The tallest asked, voice casual but edged. Lucas tightened his grip on the case. Yes, sir. Is there an issue? The man stepped closer, smile never reaching his eyes. Depends how you define issue. What's your boss planning for tomorrow's hearing? Lucas swallowed. I can't discuss judicial matters with unauthorized people. A second man drifted behind Lucas, blocking his path to the driver's door. Kid, you seem smart enough to recognize when keeping quiet is in your best interest, he said. Lucas's keys rattled in his shaking hand. Are you threatening me? We're giving friendly advice, the third replied. Your judge is collecting dangerous enemies, men who remember allies and obstacles. Lucas fumbled with the key fob until the car finally unlocked. I need to go now, he stammered, sliding into the driver's seat and yanking the door shut. As he reversed, the first man called, Tell your judge some cases are better left undisturbed. Those words rode shotgun with Lucas. All the way home, heavy as a threat. The next morning in chambers, Lucas recounted the parking garage encounter. Regina's expression hardened into something beyond anger. They're trying to isolate me, she said, cutting off staff support through intimidation. Her inbox overflowed on the monitor. Over 300 hateful emails overnight. Subject lines screamed, Black judges don't belong. String up the race baiter. We know exactly where you sleep. Jordan entered with coffee and grim resolve. Mom, I hired private security. The FBI strongly recommends protection, she said. If I hide, they win the psychological war, Regina answered. If you're killed, everybody loses, Jordan shot back. Regina opened a drawer, revealing a typed resignation letter. I wrote this last night. Thought maybe stepping down might shield you. Jordan's voice cracked. Please don't, Mom. Regina stared at the page. 43 victims, Jordan. If I walk away now, those cases die with me. With a decisive breath, she highlighted the document and hit delete. But staying means you're still a target, Jordan said. Regina closed the drawer. I've been a target since the day I took this bench. Jordan opened her laptop to a crowdfunding page labeled Justice for Judge Lawson Legal Fund. The total read $847,000 raised in 72 hours. Look at these messages, she said. Notes from judges, lawyers, ordinary people scrolled past. A colleague from Texas wrote, Standing with you, sister. Justice can't bow to bullies. A civil rights group pledged 6 figures. You're not alone in this fight. Regina read a note from a mother. My boy was brutalized by the same officers. Make them answer. Another message from a public defender. You're doing what we wish we could. Her phone buzzed with an unknown text. Courtroom tomorrow, 9 a.m. Come alone, or Jordan gets hurt. Attached was a fresh photo of Jordan leaving her office that morning. Day 5, 7 a.m. Agent Price hurried into chambers with Baker and a woman Regina hadn't met. Sunlight streamed through newly installed bullet-resistant glass. Judge, this is Detective Angela Reeves, Internal Affairs Undercover, Price said. Reeves, a determined black detective in her 30s, shook Regina's hand firmly. Your Honor, I've spent 2 years undercover building cases on corrupt officers, she said. Regina weighed her, taking in the tension in Reeves's shoulders and the fire in her eyes. 2 years is a long time to live in the lion's den, Regina said. Reeves nodded. I requested IA specifically to go after predators like Morales and Keene. Your arrest blew my cover window wide open. It gave me leverage I'd been praying for. Baker set a heavy evidence box on the desk, hands unsteady. Judge, there's something I never disclosed about that night, he said. Something that changes everything. From his jacket, he pulled a USB drive. My personal body cam has an extended battery. It kept recording after the official booking ended. He plugged it into Regina's computer. Breath held. The footage showed Morales and Keene swaggering back into intake. Assuming cameras were off, Morales' voice rang out. Did you see her face when I yanked that hair? Perfect! These uppity ones need to be reminded who's in charge. Keene laughed. Think she'll pull judge rank tomorrow? Not in my jail, Morales sneered. In here, I'm God. Regina's composure finally cracked. Tears spilled freely. Reeves picked up where the video left off. And there's much more, she said, flipping open her laptop to dense spreadsheets. Morales and Keene aren't just dirty. They're running full criminal enterprises. Bank statements filled the screen, lined with regular deposits. Drug distributors, sex trade bosses, underground casinos, Reeves explained. They all pay protection to stay off arrest dockets. Your arrest threatened their whole income stream, Kevin said, leaning in. A judge, seeing their methods up close? They needed leverage, Reeves nodded. That's why they filmed your humiliation, insurance for blackmail. She produced another phone from an evidence bag. Keene's burner, she said. Text unfurled. Judge needs to be taught a lesson. Make it personal, make it hurt. One reply asked, what about the daughter? Keene's answer, fair game. Make them both terrified. Regina's jaw clenched. You can prove they targeted Jordan specifically? She asked. Reeves clicked through folders of photos, addresses, office schedules. We've got maps of her commute, building entry logs, even coffee shop timestamps. It's full-scale stalking by multiple participants, all tied back to that phone. Baker spoke softly, shame thick in his voice. Judge, there's something else. Keene has been targeting women for years. He opened another folder from the box. Photos appeared. Female detainees with brutally shaved heads, shoulders slumped. 16 women in 2 years, all cataloged as contraband searches, all signed off as standard procedure by supervisors who never asked questions. Regina instantly recognized the pattern. Young, mostly women of color, all conventionally attractive, she said. This isn't safety, it's sexual humiliation wrapped in policy language. State-sanctioned assault, Reeves agreed. Jordan entered with 3 visitors. Regina didn't expect a mom. Meet the legal dream team, she said. A national ACLU attorney, a Justice Department civil rights official, and a constitutional law professor stepped forward. The ACLU lawyer, Daniel Rivas, spoke first. Judge Lawson, your case is now a flagship federal civil rights action. Dr. Patrice James from the Justice Department added, we're launching a pattern and practice probe into this entire department. Professor Malcolm Stone concluded, we'll be seeking criminal liability for Morales, Keene, Chief Harris, and Union Rep. Nichols. Regina exhaled. I wanted justice for one night. This has become a reckoning. You opened a locked door, Mom, Jordan said. You gave everyone permission to tell the truth. Rivas turned his tablet so Regina could see live footage from the courthouse steps. Hundreds filled the frame, holding signs with victims' names. 800 protesters already, he said. Listen. Outside, speakers passed the mic to former arrestees, their voices rising over the roar of traffic. Jamal Rivers stood before the crowd, his own shaved head covered by a knit cap. Judge Lawson, you saved my life by refusing to stay quiet, he said into the microphone. No, they stripped my hair, my dignity, my faith in this system. Today you've turned that shame back where it belongs. The crowd roared, chants folding over his words like waves. Kevin's phone vibrated with an encrypted alert. Judge, we just hit the motherlode, he said, casting to the big screen. Nichols's emails to union locals across the country filled the wall. Subject lines, managing activist judges, Seattle model success, personal pressure tactics for courts. He'd been distributing playbooks for discrediting problematic judges nationwide with disturbingly detailed intimidation. Instructions. One thread showed Nichols coaching a Phoenix union. Target judges, personally. Make them choose family safety over rulings. The reply bragged, tried it on Judge Rodriguez. She stepped back from 3 police cases. Perfect. Fear beats law every time. Regina stared out at the crowd below. This isn't just my city, she said. It's judicial independence everywhere. Price's radio crackled with FBI dispatch. All units, be advised. Federal warrants now active, the voice announced. Subjects, Officers Morales and Keene, Chief Harris, Union Representative Nichols, multiple counts, including conspiracy to violate civil rights. Regina watched more news vans pull up outside. Jordan spoke quietly. Mom, the whole planet is about to watch what happens in your courtroom. Day 6. Regina's case detonated across social platforms like synchronized fireworks. The hashtag Judge Lawson evolved into Eli End Police Abuse, trending worldwide. Within 24 hours, over 3 million posts carried her name and story. A coalition of judges tweeted, 312 jurists stand with Judge Lawson. Judicial independence is democracy's spine. Activists shared maps highlighting similar abuse patterns in 20-plus cities. TikTok turned into a battleground of creativity and outrage. One viral clip showed a woman donning a robe, caption, POV, your Judge Lawson walking into court tomorrow, racking up 12 million views. Another trend featured women of every background shaving their heads in solidarity. Haircuts for justice. Millions more views. Someone even read Morales and Keene's arrest warrants as a dramatic bedtime story. Outside the Seattle courthouse, 2,000 protesters packed 6 city blocks. Jamal addressed the crowd again. Justice Beanie pulled low. They cut Judge Lawson's hair to shame her. They cut mine to break me. But we refuse to break, he said. Maria Santos stood beside 12 other women harmed by those officers. For 5 years, I lived in silence. Today, I refuse their shame. Teacher David Hale spoke next, voice carrying like he was in a classroom. Tomorrow, when Judge Halston sentences these men, she'll speak for every life they crushed, he said. In Chicago, thousands marched downtown. In New York, federal judges rallied outside a courthouse. The celebrities joined ACLU events. Live streams exploded, millions watching on cable, more on social, numbers climbing relentlessly. Cable news pulled 2.3 million viewers for wall-to-wall coverage. On one platform, nearly 5 million watched live. On another, over 8 million. TikTok Live peaked above 12 million concurrent viewers, a tidal wave of comments and stitched reactions. At Union headquarters, Nichols tried slipping out a back door, only to be engulfed by cameras and microphones thrust into his face. "Hi, Mr. Nichols, how do you respond to evidence of coordinated corruption?" one reporter shouted. "No comment on ongoing matters," he snapped, shoving past. "Did you help orchestrate threats against Judge Halston's family?" Another pressed. "These accusations are nonsense," he barked. "Your own emails suggest otherwise," a third called. Nichols dove into his car as protesters chanted, "Resignation, prosecution, justice," pounding on signs. That night, Regina sat with Jordan and her security team. Multiple screens tuned to different networks. One anchor intoned, "Tomorrow's sentencing could redefine police accountability in America." Another said, "Judge Halston's resolve has sparked a movement far beyond Seattle." A third warned, "Critics say the case has become more about politics than law." Regina grabbed the remote and muted them all at once. "Jordan, tomorrow isn't about politics or hashtags," Regina said quietly. "It's about the law and what it's worth." Jordan studied her mother's profile. "Mom, you're more than a judge now. You've become a symbol." Regina touched her head wrap thoughtfully. "Symbols fade from timelines," she replied. "Justice lasts. That's what I'm accountable to when I walk into that room." Her phone showed tens of thousands of unread messages from around the globe. A sitting Supreme Court justice texted, "Regina, the federal bench stands behind you tomorrow." A former attorney general emailed, "Your courage reminds us justice serves people, not power." A foundation named for Nelson Mandela sent a message, "Your strength echoes historic struggles for freedom worldwide." At county jail, Morales and Keene watched muted news on a bolted television and out their narrow slit windows. "How many people are out there?" Keene asked a guard. "Last count, 25,000 and climbing." News choppers circled like mechanical vultures. "Think she'll go easy?" Morales called. Keene barked a bitter laugh. "Are you kidding? We're absolutely finished." Near midnight, Regina's phone lit up with a restricted number. Caller ID simply read, "Executive Office." Jordan's breath caught. "Mom, that's the White House." Regina hesitated, then answered. A calm senior aide spoke. "Judge Halston, the president asked me to convey respect for your courage and to say, however tomorrow unfolds, your stand matters far beyond Seattle itself." Day 7. Sentencing Day. By 8:30 a.m., security was funneling thousands through metal detectors. Lines wrapped around the block as protesters and spectators queued under gray Seattle skies and light drizzle. Every major network had a satellite truck parked outside, broadcasting live hits. Inside, deputies established overflow rooms with big screens for those who couldn't squeeze into courtroom B. At exactly 9 a.m., Regina stepped through the side door of courtroom B in full robes, her shaved head wrapped in a bold kente cloth headscarf. The gallery rose as one, a hush falling so complete it felt like pressure. Court is now in session, she said. State versus Morales and Keene. The two officers sat shackled in orange, with lawyers flanking them. Defense attorney Feldman bolted up. Your Honor, we move for recusal. Given your personal involvement, impartiality is impossible. Regina didn't blink. Motion denied, she said. As the victim of their conduct and the judge who heard the evidence, I am uniquely positioned to understand the harm. The law provides for this circumstance. We proceed. Applause broke out before deputies restored order. Before sentencing, this court will examine the defendant's broader pattern of abuse, Regina said, voice carrying to the last row. Agent Price controlled the courtroom display from counsel table. Exhibit A, body camera footage from my unlawful arrest and assault, Regina announced. Screens lit up around the room as the video played, showing tear gas, handcuffs, and clippers buzzing against her hair. The courtroom watched, transfixed, as past Regina stared into the camera and warned them to verify their facts. Then Morales' voice boomed from the speakers. Smile for the camera, Your Honor. Whoops, I mean inmate. Shocked gasps rippled through the packed gallery. Keene flinched visibly at the slip. Seeing the moment he helped doom them, replayed from 5 different angles. Exhibit B, Regina continued. Financial records documenting systematic overtime fraud totaling $137,000. Charts and spreadsheets replaced the video. Padded protest shifts, duplicated entries, signatures. For 3 years, these defendants treated the public treasury as a personal wallet, she said. Jurors from past cases sat in the gallery, faces hardening as they realized how deeply they'd been misled. Exhibit C, proof of a coordinated harassment campaign against my family, Regina said. Screens filled with texts from Keene's burner. Judge needs to be taught a lesson. Make it personal. Make it painful. Then, what about the daughter? Response, fair game. Make them both terrified. In the front row, Jordan's hand tightened around her mother's as her own terror became public evidence. This court will also hear from additional victims, Regina said. Jamal approached the podium. In 2019, Keene shaved my head and called it gang identification. I was an honor student, he said. Maria followed. Morales strip-searched me on the roadside in my scrubs. 40 strangers watched. Teacher David Hale spoke next. One after another. 16 people described humiliation, bruises, nightmares. Finally, exhibits, Regina said. Audio from Keene's personal device. The bar recording played, Keene bragging about yanking her hair. Morales calling her stupid for thinking being a judge mattered. Then came the half-spoken slur. She's still just another... Regina stopped the clip cold. The unfinished word hung heavy. Keene jumped up. That's completely out of context, he protested. Regina's stare froze him mid-sentence. Officer Keene, you and Officer Morales have supplied this court with all the context required, she said. Your own words and actions show you to be racist, corrupt, and predatory. You wielded state power like a weapon, not a responsibility. The room went so quiet that the hum of the lights sounded like distant thunder. The moment had arrived. Regina rose from the bench. Officer Morales, she began, for civil rights violations, assault under color of law, fraud and conspiracy. This court sentences you to 8 years in federal prison without possibility of early release. Morales sagged into his chair, color draining from his face as murmurs rolled through the packed courtroom like surf. Officer Keene, Regina continued, for the same offenses, plus documented sexual predation disguised as procedure, This court sentences you to 12 years in federal custody, Keene exploded. This is a public lynching. You can't do this. Regina's reply was calm and devastating. What was done to me was an assault. What I'm doing now is called accountability and lawful justice. For a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then the gallery rose in a roaring standing ovation. Victims, lawyers, even some officers in the back, clapping, crying, shouting through tears. Deputies didn't even try to silence it at first. For many in that room, this was the first time they'd seen a badge held truly accountable in their lifetimes, and they weren't letting the moment pass quietly. Outside, word hit the crowd in seconds. 30,000 people erupted, hugging strangers, chanting Regina's name, singing, sobbing into cameras and phones. Livestream numbers spiked again. By day's end, over 47 million viewers had watched some part of the hearing. More than 12 million shared clips. Comment threads flooded with a single word repeated like a drumbeat. Finally. International headlines flashed across screens. London papers declared, American judge shows fearless courage. Johannesburg outlets wrote, Justice finally wins in Seattle. Tokyo News described Black judges' bravery inspiring citizens worldwide. Broadcasters in Toronto, Paris, São Paulo, and Nairobi debated what her sentences truly meant. For once, the global conversation about American policing finally centered on consequences, not excuses. When Regina exited onto the courthouse steps, microphones surged forward. Instead of ducking, she paused and slowly removed her head wrap, letting the cameras see her growing short, natural hair. They thought shaving my head would strip my dignity, she said. All it did was expose their own disgrace for everyone to witness. The crowd roared, chanting her name like a chorus. Your Honor, what happens now? A reporter shouted. Regina's smile was small and fierce. 41 other victims still deserve their day in court, she replied. This bench isn't done. Her phone buzzed with a secured message from the Justice Department. Nationwide reform package, moving forward. Your expertise urgently requested. For once, federal power came asking for her help. 3 months later, inside federal prison, Morales and Keene pushed mops down echoing corridors in stiff orange uniforms. We should have listened when she told us to check our facts, Keene muttered. 8 years to replay that moment, Morales answered grimly. Every time a guard barked an order, they felt a fraction of the power imbalance they'd once happily exploited. Back in Regina's chambers, her hair had grown into a soft, deliberate natural. The walls were covered with framed letters, courtroom sketches, children's drawings from supporters worldwide. A news anchor's voice floated from a muted screen. A bipartisan Lawson Police Reform Act had just passed Congress, mandating body cameras, civilian oversight boards, and automatic federal review for serious civil rights complaints. At Seattle Police Headquarters, the brass nameplate reading Chief Harris had been removed. In its place, Chief Angela Reeves. Cameras captured her first press conference. This department will not buy trust with slogans, she said. We will earn it through transparency and consequences. No more intimidation, no more protected bullies. We work for this community now, not the other way around. In the days that followed, pundits tried to reduce her ruling to spectacle, but Regina kept repeating the same line in every brief interview. This isn't the end. 41 other victims are still waiting. Editorials shifted from doubting her to demanding wider review. Suddenly, city officials who'd ignored complaints for years were scrambling to schedule task forces and hearings. One afternoon, a secure email arrived from the Attorney General's office. Nationwide policing reform package in draft, it read. Your insight essential. Request immediate consultation. Regina stared at the screen for a long moment. For decades, she'd watched federal power shield departments from consequences. Now that same power was asking her how to dismantle the shield piece by piece. 3 months later, Jamal crossed a law school graduation stage. Justice beanie swapped for a cap and gown. On his mortarboard he'd written, "From victim to advocate." Maria accepted a statewide civil rights award, holding up Regina's photo. She taught us our dignity was never theirs to take, Maria said. Cameras flashed as survivors stood beside her, no longer hiding, in a training auditorium at police headquarters. Chief Reeves addressed a roomful of recruits. If you're here for unchecked power, leave now, she said, slides behind her listed new policies, mandated cameras, instant suspension for retaliation, community review boards with real teeth. You will earn trust by being accountable, or you won't wear this badge at all, ever. At a community college, David Hale opened a new course, Constitutional Law and Police Accountability. The first slide showed Regina in her head wrap on the bench. This is what courage inside the system looks like, he told his students. Our job is to make sure it doesn't take this much suffering for change to happen again. Pen scratched furiously. In a televised interview, a journalist asked Regina, "How has all this changed you?" She touched her short curls. "They thought they were cutting my hair," she said. "Really? They were cutting the chains around a corrupt system. Any regrets?" "Only that it took my assault to expose what communities of color endure every day," she answered. "What's next? Justice. Case by case." Late that night, Regina's phone rang again. This time the caller was from an international tribunal investigating police brutality in several countries. "Judge Lawson, we've followed your work," the official said. "We need your experience." Regina glanced at the stacks of files on her desk and smiled faintly. "Tell me where to start," she replied. "Somewhere." A new fight for justice was already forming. Even the powerful can be stripped of dignity. Many of you have lived long enough to know that a title, a college degree, even a black robe do not always protect you. When officers shoved Judge Regina Lawson into a cell and shaved her head like she was nothing, it reminded us that injustice can still walk in broad daylight, bold as ever. Truth needs both courage and witnesses. Regina's steady voice, that little recorder in her purse, the young people holding up their phones, all of it worked together. Older Americans remember when neighbors had to risk everything just to tell the truth. In this story, the community, the FBI, and honest officers linked arms so the lies finally collapsed. Change is slow, but still worth the fight. From new leadership at the police department to a national reform law carrying her name, Regina's pain turned into a turning point. For those of us in our 60s and 70s, her story says clearly, keep speaking up, because your voice can still bend the arc of justice. My friends, after walking through Judge Regina Lawson's journey, from the horror of having her head shaved in a county jail to the courage of sentencing the very men who abused her, I'd truly like to hear from you. Which part of her story speaks most deeply to your own life experience? The disrespect from authority, the power of ordinary people recording the truth, or the hard-won reforms that followed? Please share your thoughts and personal stories in the comments. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you won't miss future lessons on justice, courage, and the wisdom of our later years.